I've never been luckier. I cheered. 10 minutes later, I was short $5,100 and pawned my wedding ring. My name is Jake. I'm 34, an electrician, and I sleep in a one-bedroom apartment where my daughter visits every other weekend. 6 months ago, I had a house, a family, and a ring that meant forever. You want to know how 10 minutes destroyed 12 years? It didn't start that night. It started when my wife took our daughter to her mother's place and left me with silence. The casino was just supposed to be dinner, a place with noise. Then I started winning, really winning. More money than I'd held at once. The whole table cheering for me. For the first time in months, I wasn't the guy whose wife left, the father behind on support. I was lucky. I was somebody. But luck is a liar that whispers, just one more hand. I believed it. The pit boss knew my name. The dealer tried to warn me. I couldn't hear him over the sound of chips moving across felt like promises I could keep. Let me take you through those 10 minutes, from $5,000 to an empty finger where my wedding ring used to be. When you're drowning in losses and winning feels like breathing again, what are you really chasing? The money or the man you used to be? The escalator hummed under my work boots as I rode up to the gaming floor of Prairie Winds Casino. Tuesday night, 8:30. My phone buzzed again in my pocket. Melissa's third call since I'd pulled into the parking lot. I didn't need to answer to know what she wanted. The separation papers had been sitting on my kitchen counter for 2 weeks, right next to the overdue notice from the credit union. 45 days late on the truck payment. I counted the bills in my wallet again, though I already knew the number. $300. My last money until Friday's paycheck. The casino doors opened to that familiar wall of sound. Slot machines singing their electronic songs. Chips clicking on felt. Someone whooping at a craps table in the distance. Cigarette smoke hung in the air despite the industrial ventilation system working overtime. I told myself I was here for the buffet. $8.99 on Tuesdays. Maybe one beer at the bar while watching the game. Just somewhere with lights and noise where I didn't have to stare at those papers or think about Emma asking her. Mother, why daddy doesn't live there anymore? Why hands still? Had cuts from pulling copper wire through conduit at the hospital job. St. Mary's renovation, 3rd month of a 6-month project. My foreman Ron had pulled me aside yesterday, asked if everything was okay. I'd crossed the same circuit twice in the morning, nearly sent 220 volts through a junction box meant for 110. Could have killed someone. Or myself. Just tired, I told him. He'd looked at me the way people do when they know you're lying but can't prove it. The hostess at the buffet was new, young enough to be in college. She smiled like she meant it. Walked me to a booth where I could see the whole casino floor. I loaded my plate with fried chicken, mashed potatoes, green beans that had been sitting under heat lamps too long. The food tasted like cardboard, but I wasn't really there to eat. Through the restaurant's open entrance, I watched the craps table. Good crowd for a Tuesday. Lots of cheering. Someone was on a hot roll that I pushed the half-eaten plate away, left a $5 tip I couldn't afford. The waitress had been nice, kept my water glass full without me asking. As I walked out of the restaurant, I told myself I'd just watch for a few minutes. See how the table was running. I'd been coming here twice a month since Melissa moved out, sometimes more. It was better than sitting in the apartment, listening to the couple upstairs fight about money, staring at the indent in the couch cushion where she used to sit. The craps table had 12 people around it. Energy crackling like electricity through bad wire. I recognized some faces, regulars like me who knew each other's first names, but nothing else. The dealer working the stick was Marcus, young black guy who'd been here about 18 months. He was good at his job, kept the game moving, remembered how people liked their chips stacked. Professional but friendly, the kind of dealer who made you feel like you belonged even when you were down to your last 20. I stood at the rail, watching. An older Vietnamese woman was shooting, had been for a while based on the chip stacks in front of the other players. She handled the dice like they were made of glass, setting them just so before each toss. The guy next to her, construction worker by the look of his hands, had at least 2,000 in front of him. Everyone was winning. There was an open spot at the corner of the table. Perfect view of the whole game. The kind of spot where you could see everyone's bets, watch the dice dance across the felt, feel like you were part of something that mattered. My phone buzzed again. This time I pulled it out, saw the text from Melissa. A photo of Emma asleep, clutching the stuffed rabbit I'd won her at the state fair 2 years ago. She's asking where you are. The message said that I put the phone away and stepped up to the table. Hey Jake, joining the party. Marcus said as I squeezed into the corner spot. He remembered everyone's name if they came more than twice. Part of the job, but he made it feel personal. Looks hot, I said, pulling 200 from my wallet. Kept the third 100 in my back pocket. Emergency money, I told myself. The rent money, if I was being honest. On fire. The construction worker said, clapping me on the shoulder like we were old friends. Linda here's been rolling for 12 minutes. Haven't seen anything like it. Linda didn't look up, focused on the dice in her weathered hands. She was probably late 60s, wearing a jade bracelet that caught the light when she moved. The kind of woman you'd see at the grocery store and never guess she could command a craps table like a conductor with an orchestra. Marcus counted out my buy-in, all red 5s and green 25s. 200 in, he called out, loud enough for the pit boss to hear. Cheryl was working tonight, stern woman who dressed like she was heading to a board meeting instead of overseeing a casino floor. She marked something on her clipboard without looking up. I placed $10 on the pass line. Conservative start. The dice were working their way back to Linda after the stick man had swept them around the table, letting other shooters pass because nobody wanted to follow her hot streak. She was the star tonight, and everyone knew it. Linda rolled. 6 and 2, 8. The table erupted. She'd made her point. Pay the line, Marcus called out, his hands moving fast to settle all the bets. My $10 won me another 10. 20 total. Nothing really. Pocket change. But it wasn't about the money yet. It was about being part of the winning, feeling that electric current that runs through a hot table. Same shooter, the stickman announced. Linda set her next point. 9. I put 25 on the pass line this time, took double odds behind it. My electrician's hands were steady as I placed the chips, but I noticed a slight tremor when I pulled them back. When had that started? After Melissa left? Before, Linda rolled. 5 and 4. 9. The construction worker, Tommy, I heard someone call him, let out a whoop that probably echoed in the parking garage. That's what I'm talking about. Lady, you're beautiful. My 25 paid out, plus the odds. Suddenly, I had close to 100 in front of me from starting with 20. The tremor in my hands stopped. For the first time in weeks, maybe months, I felt steady, grounded, like I was standing on solid floor instead of quicksand. You're bringing the luck, brother, Tommy said to me. She was cooling off before you showed up. It wasn't true. Linda had been hot before I arrived, but I let myself believe it. Let myself think that maybe I was part of something good happening instead of just watching from the outside. Linda's roll continued. 13 minutes. 15. 18. The table filled with spectators, people abandoning slot machines to watch history in the making. Someone started recording with their phone until security asked them to stop. The energy was infectious, spreading through the casino like good news you couldn't wait to share. I increased my bets gradually. 50 on the pass line. Then 75. When Linda hit her 5th point in a row, a hard 6 that paid out 30-1 to the guy who'd bet it, I was up to 100 per bet. My chip stack had grown from 200 to 800 without me really noticing. It just happened, like compound interest in reverse, building up instead of draining away. Dice out. The stickman called, sending the dice back to Linda for what felt like the 100th time. 22 minutes now. The casino's digital board showing the longest rolls of the month had her in 2nd place, closing in on 1st. Marcus caught my eye as I stacked my chips. A subtle look, the kind cocktail waitresses give you when you've had enough, but they can't cut you off. But I wasn't drunk on alcohol. I was drunk on winning, on being part of Linda's magical night, on not thinking about unsigned papers and empty bedrooms and a daughter who wondered why her father didn't come home anymore. Linda picked up the dice for another roll, and I doubled my pass line bet. 22 minutes became 25. 25 became 28. Linda's roll was approaching legendary status, the kind of thing regulars would talk about for years. Were you here the night that Vietnamese lady rolled for 31 minutes? My 800 had become 1,500, then 2,000, then 2,400. The chips stacked in front of me looked like a little city I'd built from nothing. Reds and greens, and now some black hundreds that Marcus had given me when I'd asked him to color up some of my smaller denominations. Cheryl, the pit boss, stood directly behind Marcus now, watching every movement of the dice. She'd already called surveillance once, had them verify the dice weren't loaded or switched. Standard procedure when a table gets this hot, Marcus had explained to Tommy, who'd never seen anything like this despite being a regular for 2 years. Hard 8. Someone yelled, throwing a black chip toward the center of the table. The proposition bets were flying now, people betting on specific combinations, long odds that hardly ever hit, but paid out huge when they did. I'd always avoided prop bets. They were sucker bets, the kind that drained your bankroll while you waited for lightning to strike. But lightning was striking tonight. Over and over. I tossed a green 25 toward the stickman. Hard 8, I said, my voice steadier than I'd expected. Linda rolled. 4 and 4. Hard 8. The table exploded. My 25 paid out 225. Just like that. Money appearing from nowhere, multiplying like some miracle I'd seen on those prosperity gospel shows Melissa's mother watched. Let it ride, I heard myself say. Marcus looked at me. Not a warning exactly, but a question. I nodded. Linda rolled again. 3 and 5. Regular 8. My hard 8 bet disappeared, but my past line bet paid out. I was still up. Way up. The exact number didn't matter anymore. What mattered was that everyone at this table thought I knew something, had some special touch. Tommy kept asking me what to bet. The woman on my left touched my shoulder for luck before placing her chips. I thought about Emma, asleep with her rabbit. Thought about the 2-bedroom apartment I'd looked at online last week, the one with the purple room that would be perfect for her. $2,800 a month. They wanted first, last, and security. With what I had in front of me, I could swing it. Could show up to pick up Emma next weekend with keys to a place where she'd have her own space. Her own closet for all the clothes she was outgrowing. $3,200 now. My hands had completely stopped shaking. For the first time since Melissa had loaded Emma into her mother's car 6 months ago, I felt like someone who could fix things instead of break them. Dice out. The stickman called again. Linda was approaching 30 minutes. The all-time record for the casino, according to the digital board, was 34 minutes, set 3 years ago by someone named Robert T. I pulled out my phone, did quick math. $3,200 would cover 2 months of back child support, get the truck note current, and still leave enough for groceries that weren't peanut butter and white bread. I could text Melissa right now, tell her I'd have the money tomorrow. Tell her I was getting my shit together. Tell her maybe we could talk about Emma spending more time with me. But I didn't text her. I put the phone away and placed another bet. Hard 6, I called out, throwing 50 toward the center, and pressed my pass line to 200. Tommy whistled low. Big money, he said with respect. The woman on my left, elderly black woman wearing what looked like church clothes, shook her head. Don't chase it, baby, she said quietly. Take the blessing and walk. But I wasn't chasing. I was winning. There's a difference, I told myself. Chasers bet scared money, desperate money. I was betting with house money now, profits that hadn't existed 2 hours ago. I could afford to be aggressive. Linda set the dice carefully. That same ritual she'd been doing for half an hour. The table went quiet, everyone holding their breath. She rolled. 3 and 3. Hard 6. The stickman pushed $450 in chips toward me. My stack now looked like something from a poker tournament on TV. Blacks and greens, and even a few of the $500 purples that I'd only ever seen other people play with. Marcus started to say something, then stopped. Later, I'd wonder what he was going to tell me. Later, I'd wonder about a lot of things. But right then, with $3,100 in front of me, and the whole table treating me like I was blessed, I felt bulletproof. Linda picked up the dice for what everyone could sense might be her last roll. Linda 7'd out. 31 minutes, a new casino record. The table applauded as she colored up her chips, probably walking away with $15,000. She nodded once, dignified, then disappeared into the crowd like she'd never been there at all. The dice came to me. New shooter coming out. The stickman announced that my coworkers always joked about my steady hands. Could thread wire through a 2-inch conduit blindfolded, they said. Could splice cable in the dark. But holding casino dice felt different. They were heavier than they looked. Red plastic with white dots that seemed to pulse under the lights. You got this, Jake, Tommy said, now fully invested in my success. He'd put $500 on the pass line, trusting me with money that could pay his rent. I breathed on the dice, something I'd seen old-timers do, and set them with 3 showing. The table watched. Even Cheryl leaned in slightly. Marcus waited, patient, his hands resting on the chip rack. I tossed them gently, the way Linda had. They bounced once, twice, settled. 4 and 2. 6. 6 is the point, the stickman called. Good number. Not as good as 8, but better than 4 or 10. The table placed their bets behind the line, backing my play. I felt their faith like electricity through copper wire. I rolled again. 5 and 3. 8. Again. 2 and 1. 3. Again. 3 and 3. Hard sixth, the table erupted. I'd made my point on the hard way, the proposition bet paying everyone who'd followed my lead. Tommy bear hugged me, lifting me off the ground. The church lady was clapping. Even Marcus smiled, genuinely this time. Same shooter, the stickman announced. Coming out. I set my next point. 8. The money number, the one that hits most often after 7. My 3,100 had grown to 3,800. I wasn't even counting anymore, just watching chips appear and multiply like some broken slot machine paying out forever. Melissa texted again. I didn't look. I rolled the 8 in 3 throws. Then made a 4, the hard way. Then a 9. Each point I hit, the table got louder. Someone bought me a Corona without asking. The cocktail waitress, pretty girl with tired eyes, said, "You're on fire tonight, honey." My stack hit 4,100. Then 45. Then $5,100. I stood there, dizzy with it. 5 grand from 300. 17 times my money. The math was impossible, except it wasn't. It was right there in front of me, purple and black chips that could change everything. Marcus quietly said, "Nice shooting, Jake. Maybe time to color up?" But the table was chanting for me to continue. Tommy, the church lady, new players who joined just to ride my streak. I picked up the dice again and said the words that would haunt me. I've never been luckier. The celebration lasted 10 minutes. Tommy exchanged phone numbers with me, talking about a private poker game his brother ran in Riverside. The church lady blessed me, actually put her hand on my forehead like we were at Sunday service. Other players took selfies with me in the background. The man who'd turned the table hot. Marcus counted out my chips slowly, deliberately. $5,100. He exchanged the smaller denominations for blacks and purples, sliding them across in neat stacks. The weight of them felt different than regular chips. These were mortgage payments, car titles, fresh starts. Smart money walks now, Marcus said under his breath. Professional smile, never wavering. Cheryl marked something in her tablet, updating my player profile. "Congratulations, Mr. Sullivan," she said. First time she'd ever used my name. "Can we comp you dinner? Maybe a show?" I wasn't hungry, wasn't tired. Was something else entirely. Electric, invincible, chosen. For the first time in 6 months, I wasn't the electrician whose wife left him. Wasn't the father behind on support, eating peanut butter dinners in a 1-bedroom apartment that smelled like the previous tenant's cats. I was the shooter who'd conquered the table, the man who'd turned 300 into 5 grand. "I'm good," I told Cheryl. "Think I'll play a little blackjack." The craps players wished me luck as I left. Tommy said, "Tear it up, brother." The church lady shook her head but said nothing. I walked to the blackjack pit, chose a $25 minimum table. Conservative, I told myself. Smart. With 5 grand, I could weather any storm, wait for the good cards to come. The dealer was an older woman, Asian, maybe 60. Her nameplate said Dorothy. She had that look of someone who'd been dealing for decades, movements so automatic she could probably do it in her sleep. She watched me sit down with my towers of chips. Said nothing. "Changing 5,000, she announced. Loud enough for the whole pit to hear. An Asian businessman sat next to me. Expensive suit, Rolex catching the light. He had 1,500 in blacks in front of him. Bet 500 a hand like it was nothing. Like numbers on a screen instead of actual money. I started with $25 hands. Won 3 straight. The cards felt predictable after the chaos of dice. Blackjack was about math, about knowing when to hit, when to stand. I'd studied the basic strategy charts online, knew the optimal play for every combination. $50 hands. Won 2, lost 1. Still up. $100 hands. The businessman ordered sushi from the casino restaurant, eating between hands with chopsticks, soy sauce dangerously close to his chips. That's what I wanted, that casualness about money, that confidence that there would always be more. I bet 200. Got dealt 11. Doubled down. Drew a king. 21. Dorothy paid out without expression, but the businessman nodded approval. "Good play." He said that I was up to 5,800. From 300 to almost 6 grand in one night. The math seemed impossible, except the chips were right there. Evidence that sometimes the universe paid out what it owed you all at once. The businessman mentioned owning a chain of dry cleaners, 7 locations. "Money's just points in a game," he said. losing another 500 without flinching. Can't take it with you. Easy to say when you had it. But I nodded like I understood. Bet 300 on the next hand. Lost. Bet 300 again. Lost. The cards had turned. That invisible shift that every gambler knows. Dorothy's face never changed. She'd seen this movie too many times. The businessman kept eating his sushi, placing his 500s, winning some, losing more, not caring either way. I told myself I was still up huge. Still had more than 4,000. The smart play was to walk, but Smart had left the building when I'd sat down at this table. I wanted what the businessman had, that feeling that money didn't matter. 500 on one hand. Showing 16 against Dorothy's ace. The worst position in blackjack. Hit or stand, you're probably losing. I hit. Drew a 6. Busted. Down to 3,800. My phone buzzed. Melissa again. This time a text. Jake, it's 11:30. Emma has school tomorrow. Please just let me know you're okay. I texted back. I'm fine. Better than fine. Talk tomorrow. Moved to $100 minimum table. Telling myself higher stakes meant better players, better energy. The new dealer was young, Eastern European accent, probably on a work visa. He dealt fast, mechanical, no small talk, lost 4 hands straight. Down to 3,200, the businessman had left, tipping Dorothy a black chip like it was $1. New players sat down, young guys, probably tech workers, laughing too loud, drinking shots of something blue. They were betting the minimum, playing wrong, hitting when they should stand, but they were winning. I bet 500. Dealt 20. Dealer had showing 6, flipped over a 5, drew a 10. 21. Down to 2,700. The spiral was starting, that feeling like water circling a drain. Every fiber of my experience said to stop, walk away, take the 2,700. That was still 9 times what I'd walked in with. But 9 times nothing was still nothing. I needed the 5 grand. Needed to text Melissa tomorrow with good news. Needed Emma to have her own room. Bet 500. Lost. Bet 500. Won. Back to 27. Bet 1,000. Dealt 19. Dealer drew to 20. Down to 1,700. The tech workers were still winning, high-fiving, ordering another round. One of them said, "This is so easy." Dorothy's replacement didn't react, just kept dealing. I moved tables again. New dealer, new deck, new chance. But the cards didn't care about my story, about unsigned divorce papers, or overdue truck payments, or a daughter who asked why daddy didn't come home at by midnight. I was down to 800. By 12:30, for 100. I stood up, walked to the bathroom, splashed cold water on my face. In the mirror, I looked like every other desperate gambler I'd judged over the months. Bloodshot eyes, stubble, that hollow look of someone chasing something that was already gone. But I still had 400. And I still had my wedding ring. The bathroom mirror showed a stranger. Fluorescent lights made my skin look gray, like I'd been living underground. I'd been in the casino for 4 hours. It felt like minutes. It felt like years. $400 left. Still more than I'd walked in with. I could leave now, pay something toward the truck, buy Emma the new school shoes she needed. Be responsible, but 400 wouldn't fix anything. It was a band-aid on a severed artery. I needed more. Needed what I'd had an hour ago. That 5 grand that could actually make a difference. I walked back out, past the craps table where I'd been golden. New shooter, cold table, everyone looking miserable. Marcus was gone, his shift over. The new dealer didn't know me, didn't know I'd been the hero just 2 hours ago. The high-limit room caught my eye. Velvet rope, security guard, quieter than the main floor. Through the doorway, I could see green felt tables, crystal glasses, players who looked like they belonged in magazines. Minimum bets started at 500. I had 400. But I had the ring. White gold, small diamond chip. Bought at a mall jewelry store 12 years ago when I was 22 and thought love meant forever. Melissa had cried when I proposed, said yes before I even finished asking. We'd been so young, so sure that being broke didn't matter as long as we had each other. The pawn shop was tucked between the cashier cage and the sports book. Cash for gold, in neon that buzzed like a dying insect. I'd walked past it 100 times, always wondered who was desperate enough to pawn their stuff inside a casino. Now I knew. The woman behind the bulletproof glass was Vietnamese. Maybe 50, reading a romance novel in another language. She looked up when I approached, marked her page, waited. I pulled off the ring. My finger felt immediately naked, like I'd lost part of my hand. There was a pale indent where it had been, skin that hadn't seen sun in 12 years. How much? I asked. She held out a metal drawer, like at a bank. I dropped the ring in. She pulled it back, examined it with a jeweler's loupe, weighed it on a digital scale. 300, she said. The ring had cost me 2,000. Not a fortune, but every penny I'd had saved. It's worth more, I said. 300, she repeated. No negotiation in her voice that I thought about Emma. About Melissa finding out. About explaining why my finger was bare. But I also thought about $700, enough for a real bet, enough to win back what I'd lost. Fine. She counted out 3 bills, slid them through the slot along with a pawn ticket. 30 days, she said. After that, we sell. I pocketed the ticket without looking at it. $700. I went back to the blackjack pit, found a table with just one other player, older white guy who looked like retired military. The dealer was a young Latino woman, friendly smile, the kind who'd probably cheer for you if you won. I bet 300. Dealt blackjack. Natural 21. Pays 3 to 2.450 profit. Back to 1150. The military guy said, nice hit, son. I bet 500. 1. 1650. 1 again. 2150. The spiral reversed, climbing instead of falling. 2500. 3000. 3500. I was back. 3500 felt different than 5000. It felt hungrier. Desperate. Like a drowning man who'd gotten one breath, but was still underwater. The military guy colored up, leaving me alone at the table. Quit while you're ahead, he said. Not advice, just an observation, like noting the weather. The young dealer, Sophia, according to her nameplate, shuffled for the next shoe. Playing. She asked that I should have left. Should have taken the 3,500, figured out how to explain the missing ring later, gone home to my empty apartment and empty life. But 3,500 wasn't 5,000. And 5,000 wasn't the 10,000 I could have had if I'd kept playing smart. Deal. I said, bet 500. Lost. Bet 500. Lost. Bet 1,000. Lost. Down to 1,500 in 3 hands. Sophia's smile had faded, replaced by the careful neutrality dealers learn when watching someone's self-destruct. That MY phone rang. Not Melissa, Ron, my foreman. I let it go to voicemail. Probably calling about tomorrow's shift. We were pulling wire through the ICU, delicate work that needed steady hands and clear heads. I'd have neither. Bet 500. 1. Back to 2,000. Bet 1,000. Showing 15 against dealer's 10. Had to hit. Drew a 6. 21.3,000. Nice hit, Sophia said. But her eyes said something else. That a new player sat down. Young Asian woman in a cocktail dress, probably coming from one of the clubs. She bought in for 200. Bet the minimum, just killing time while her friends were somewhere else. I bet 1,500. Half my stack. The woman looked at me sideways, recognizing the desperation, dealt 2 8s. Split them. Another 1,500 on the table. Everything I had. First 8 got a 3. Doubled down, except I didn't have any more money. I reached for my wallet, found the emergency 100 I'd hidden. My actual emergency money, the money that was supposed to buy gas and food until Friday, doubled the 11. Drew a king. 21. Second 8 got another 8. Split again, using markers from my future winnings. Now I was playing with money I didn't have yet. Drew a 10 on one 8. 18. Drew a 9 on the other. 17. Dealer showed a 6. Flipped to 10. 16. Had to hit. Drew a 5. 21. Lost everything except the doubled 11. Down to 1,500. The cocktail dress woman cashed out her small win and left. Smart. I sat there with my last chips, doing math that wouldn't work. 1,500 couldn't become 5,000 fast enough. Not at these stakes. I needed bigger action, longer odds. I'm done, I told Sophia. She nodded, no judgment in her face. Good luck. I took my 1,500 to the craps table. Different dealer now, older black man who moved like he had arthritis. The table was cold, everyone bleeding chips. Coming in, I said, putting everything on the pass line. New shooter, nervous kid who looked barely 21. He 7'd out on his second roll, gone. Everything gone. I stood there for a moment, empty-handed, empty-fingered, empty. The arthritis dealer swept my chips away with the same motion he'd used 1,000 times before. The parking garage felt like a tomb. 3 a.m. My truck sat on level 4, same spot I'd parked 5 hours ago when I was a different person. When I had a wedding ring and $300 and some stupid hope that tonight would be different, that I sat behind the wheel, couldn't bring myself to turn the key. The pawn ticket was in my pocket, 30 days to buy back my ring for probably twice what they'd given me. Might as well have been 30 years. My phone had 12 missed calls. Melissa, Ron, Melissa, Ron, Melissa's mother, Melissa. The voicemail stacked up like bills I couldn't pay. Ron's message: Jake, you missed the safety meeting this morning. That's twice this month. Call me. Melissa's: I'm done worrying about you. Just be at Mom's at 9 on Saturday to pick up Emma. If you're not there, we're going back to court. Her mother's: your daughter needs a father, not whatever you've become. I started the truck, drove home on fumes. The gas light had been on for 2 days. I'd planned to fill up with that 300. Now I had 11 miles to empty and 4 miles to drive. The apartment building looked worse at night. Paint peeling, security light broken, someone's trash bag ripped open by raccoons. Inside, the kitchen still had the separation papers on the counter, still had the overdue notices, still had the photo of Emma at her kindergarten graduation, missing her front teeth, smiling like the world was perfect. I didn't sleep. Sat on the couch watching infomercials, guys selling systems to get rich in real estate with no money down. Change your life in 30 days, they promised. My pawn ticket said the same thing, except in reverse. At 6 a.m., I called in sick to work. Third time this month. Ron didn't answer, straight to voicemail. Food poisoning, I lied to the machine. Be in tomorrow. But tomorrow I'd still have no gas money, still have no ring, still have to face Emma on Saturday and pretend everything was fine while she noticed the bare finger where her parents' promise used to live. I made coffee with the last of the grounds. Ate peanut butter on stale bread. Checked my bank account, $17. Payday was Friday, but the check was already spoken for. Truck payment, or they'd repossess. Minimum on the credit card, or they'd close it. Something toward child support, or Melissa would go back to court. The ring was gone. The money was gone. But the need remained. That itch under my skin that said one more bet could fix everything. One more hand, one more roll, one more chance to be the person who won instead of the person who lost everything. I knew where Melissa kept the spare key to her mother's house. Knew her mother kept cash in a coffee can above the refrigerator. Knew they'd both be at work by 8. I didn't go. But I thought about it. Sat there thinking about it until the thought felt like a plan, felt like the only option left. That's when I knew I was in real trouble. Thursday morning came with a knock on the door. Hard, official. The kind that meant consequences had finally caught up. Through the peephole, Ron, my foreman, still in his work clothes, must have come straight from the job site. I opened the door, and he took in everything at once. My unwashed face, yesterday's clothes, the disaster of the apartment behind me. You look like shit, he said. Food poisoning. Bullshit. He pushed past me, walked to the kitchen, saw the papers and notices spread across the counter like evidence. How much did you lose? I didn't answer. Didn't need to. Ron was 15 years sober. AA, not GA, but addiction was addiction. He'd told me his story once, over beers after work, back when I could still have just one beer. Lost his contractor's license, his house, his first marriage. Found bottom in a drunk tank, facing his third DUI. I can't keep covering for you, he said. You crossed the same circuit twice on Tuesday. Almost sent 220 through a junction mint for 110. You could have killed someone. I know. Do you? Because from where I'm standing, you don't know shit. You're about to lose your job, Jake. Union won't protect you if you fail a drug test or show up drunk. I'm not using. Not drinking. Gambling's worse, he said. At least with booze, you pass out eventually. Gambling, you can go until there's nothing left to burn. He was right. I'd burned through $5,000 in 2 hours. Burned my wedding ring. Was standing there thinking about what else I could burn. There's a meeting, Ron said. GA. Tonight, 7 o'clock, Methodist Church on Riverside. I'll take you. I have to work. No, you don't. You're suspended. 3 days, no pay. Owner wanted to fire you. I talked him down. 3 days without pay. Might as well have been 3 years. I can't. You can't what? Can't admit you're fucked? Can't ask for help? Can't stop. Ron pulled out his wallet, counted out $40. Gas and food until the meeting. You show up, or don't come back to work. After he left, I sat with those two 20s, did the math. $40 could become 80 at a blackjack table. 80 could become 160. 160 could become I drove to the gas station, put 20 in the tank. Bought a sandwich with 5. Still had $15. 15 could become 30. 30 could become. The meeting was in a church basement. Fluorescent lights making everyone look sick. Folding chairs in a circle. About 12 people, various ages and colors and degrees of defeated. Coffee in styrofoam cups that tasted like disappointment. "I'm Tom," said the man running the meeting. "Compulsive gambler." "Hi, Tom." Everyone responded, including me, though the words felt foreign in my mouth. They went around the circle. A grandmother who'd lost her retirement playing slots. A college kid who dropped out after betting his tuition on sports. A businessman who'd embezzled from his company to cover poker debts. When it came to me, I almost lied. Almost said I was just there to observe. Instead, "I'm Jake. I lost $5,000 on Tuesday. And my wedding ring." "Hi, Jake," they said, and somehow that made it real. The meeting broke at 8:30. People milled around, refilling coffee, eating stale cookies someone had brought. I wanted to leave, but Tom cornered me by the exit. "First meeting?" he asked, though he already knew. "Yeah, got a sponsor. I don't even know if I'm coming back." Tom laughed, not unkind. "That's what I said. 15 years ago. Lost my insurance business, my house, my kids' college funds. Told myself I was just checking out GA to get my wife off my back." A woman joined us, the grandmother who'd talked about losing her retirement. "Margaret," I remembered. "Tom's being modest," she said. "He lost $1 million over 10 years. Million too," Tom corrected. "But who's counting?" They weren't bragging, weren't competing, just stating facts, like comparing scars. "The ring's the worst part," Margaret said, noticing my bare finger. "Lost mine too. Not at a casino. Sold it to a dealer in my apartment complex. 40 years of marriage, gone for $300 that lasted 20 minutes at the boats." The boats. Riverboat casinos, even worse than prairie winds because they literally trapped you on the water. "You get it back?" I asked. "No. Husband bought me a new one when I was 5 years clean. Doesn't feel the same." Ron appeared, keys in hand. "Ready?" On the drive back, he said, "You need to tell Melissa." "Tell her what?" "That I'm an even bigger fuck-up than she thought. Tell her you're getting help. Tell her before she notices the ring." But I couldn't. Sat in my apartment Thursday night, staring at my phone, composing texts I didn't send. "Lost my ring at work." No, she'd know I was lying. Rings being resized. Stupid. It fit fine for 12 years. "I have a problem, and I'm getting help." True, but sounded like every empty promise I'd made before. Friday morning came with my paycheck direct deposited. $1,100 after taxes. The truck payment was $450. Minimum on the credit card was $120. That left $530. Child support was $600 a month. Already 2 months behind. I paid the truck, skipped the credit card. Sent Melissa $300 with a text. "More coming soon." She replied immediately. "Where's the rest? And why weren't you at work yesterday? Ron called looking for you." I didn't answer. Couldn't explain that I'd been suspended, that Ron had covered for me again, that I was one mistake from unemployed. Saturday morning, 9 a.m. sharp, I parked outside Melissa's mother's house. Carol's house, technically. The house where my family lived without me. Emma ran out before I could knock, launched herself into my arms. "Daddy, can we get pancakes?" "Sure, baby." Melissa stood in the doorway, arms crossed. Her eyes went straight to my left hand. "Where's your ring?" Melissa's voice was flat, careful. The tone she used when she already knew the answer but needed to hear me say it. Emma was already in my truck, buckling her seatbelt, singing some song from school about butterflies. "It's being cleaned," I said. "Cleaned?" "Yeah, got damaged at work. Electrical burn. They're fixing it." Melissa studied my face. 12 years together. She could read my tells better than any dealer. "Show me the receipt." "It's in the truck." "So get it." Emma knocked on the window, impatient. "Daddy, come on. I'm hungry. Just, can we not do this now?" I asked. "Please." "I get her 1 day a week." "You get her every other weekend," Melissa corrected. "And you were supposed to have her last Saturday too, but you said you had to work overtime." "Were you working, Jake?" I hadn't been. I'd been at Prairie Winds, turning 200 into 800, then nothing. The Saturday before that, same story. "I'm taking her to pancakes," I said, walking toward the truck. "Jake." Her voice stopped me. "I know about the gambling." My stomach dropped. "I don't know what." "The credit card statements." Cash advances at casinos. 6 of them last month. Each advance had been $200. ATM maximum. I told myself I was just withdrawing my own money, except it was the credit card's money at 24% interest. I'm getting help, I said. Went to a meeting Wednesday. One meeting. It's a start. Emma honked the horn. Even from the porch, I could see her laughing, proud she'd figured out how to make noise. If you're gambling instead of paying child support, I'm going back to court, Melissa said. I'll request supervised visits only. You can't, I can. And I will. Get help, Jake. Real help. Not promises. At the pancake house, Emma ordered chocolate chip with extra whipped cream. She chattered about school, her best friend Sophia, the boy who put gum in her hair. Normal 8-year-old stuff. She didn't mention the ring, but I caught her looking at my hand when I cut her pancakes. Daddy, why don't you live with us anymore? The question hit like a punch. It's complicated, baby. Mom says you're sick. Did she? Not sick like with a cold. Sick in your choices. She pronounced it carefully, repeating what she'd overheard. Are you sick? I thought about Tuesday night. $5,000 disappearing in 2 hours. My wedding ring in a pawn shop, 30 days ticking down to 27. Yeah, I said, but I'm getting better. Promise. Every parent knows you shouldn't make promises you can't keep. But looking at my daughter, syrup on her chin, hope in her eyes, I said it anyway. Promise. Saturday afternoon with Emma was perfect and terrible. Perfect because she didn't care that we went to the free park instead of the movies. Terrible because I had $17 to last until Monday when I'd return to work. Push me higher. She screamed from the swing, legs pumping, hair flying. Other parents watched, probably wondering about the divorced dad with the 1,000-yard stare that MY phone buzzed. Text from Tommy, the construction worker from Tuesday's craps table. Private game tonight. $500 buy-in. You in? $500 I didn't have. But private games meant no house edge, just players against players. Better odds. I could turn the 17 into. I deleted the text. Emma jumped off the swing at its highest point, landed laughing. Did you see that? I saw. Be careful. You worry too much. 8 years old, sounding like her mother that we went to the library next. Free entertainment. Emma pulled book after book about horses, her latest obsession. I sat there watching her read, memorizing her face. The way she mouthed words she didn't know. The tiny scar above her eyebrow from falling off her bike last year. A bike I'd taught her to ride. Back when I lived there to kiss the scrapes better. Daddy, this book says horses can sense what you're feeling. Like if you're scared, they get scared. Makes sense. Are you scared? Kids always know. They sense the shifts like horses, like earthquake sensors picking up tremors adults ignore. Sometimes. Of what? Of losing you. Of losing everything. Of already having lost everything and just not knowing it yet. Grown-up stuff. I said. She nodded, went back to her book. But she scooted closer, leaned against my arm. Comfort offered without words. At 5, I drove her back to Carol's house. 20 minutes early, not enough gas to drive around killing time. Melissa came out alone. We need to talk. Emma hugged me goodbye, ran inside. Through the window, I saw Carol pull her into the kitchen, away from whatever was about to happen. I called the number on your credit card statement, Melissa said. Prairie Winds Casino. Asked about their players' club. You had no right. They knew you by name, Jake. The woman said you're a valued black chip player. Do you know what that means? Black chips were hundreds. Valued meant I'd lost enough for them to track me, court me, want me back. It means I need help. It means you're worse than I thought. She pulled out her phone, showed me a screenshot. This is from Tuesday night. Someone posted it on Facebook. Epic craps run at Prairie Winds. The video was grainy but clear enough. Me at the table, pumping my fist, 5,000 in chips visible. The timestamp said 10:47 p.m. You won all that. Yeah. Where is it? Silence. You lost it. You won $5,000 and lost it the same night. Melissa, and your ring? How much did you get for it? 300. She laughed, bitter and broken. 12 years. $300. Sunday was the second GA meeting. Same basement, same circle, same bad coffee. But different faces mixed with familiar ones. Tom was there, Margaret too. A new guy, maybe 19, wearing a Pizza Hut uniform. Talked about losing his tuition money on a sure-thing NFL bet. The Broncos were up by 14, he said. Fourth quarter. I bet my entire student loan disbursement. They lost in overtime. Everyone nodded. We all had that story. The sure thing that wasn't. The impossible loss that broke mathematics and spirit simultaneously. When my turn came, I talked about the ring. Pawned it Tuesday. Inside the casino. There's a pawn shop inside the casino. Saying it out loud made it sound even worse. 30 days to buy it back, but I need $600 I don't have. Let it go, said a woman named Patricia. Accountant, lost her house betting online poker while her kids slept. The ring's gone. It was gone the moment you took it off. But it's my wedding ring. No, Tom said. It's metal and stone. Your marriage is something else. Focus on saving that. After the meeting, Tom pulled me aside. You need to ban yourself. What? Self-exclusion. Every casino has a list. You sign up, they legally can't let you in. 1 year minimum, lifetime maximum. But what if? What if what? You want to win back your losses? Turn your life around with one perfect bet. He laughed. That's the disease talking. The only way to win is not to play. Monday morning, I returned to work. Ron had me partnered with himself, didn't trust me alone. We worked in silence mostly, pulling wire through conduits, installing junction boxes. Hospital work required precision. One mistake could shut down life support systems. You went to the meeting. He asked during lunch. 2 of them. Good. Keep going. Ron, I need to ask. I stopped. Couldn't ask for money. He'd already done too much. What? Nothing. But he knew. The ring? How much to get it back? 600. I don't have it. And even if I did, giving it to you wouldn't help. You'd pawn it again first time you got desperate. He was right. The ring was gone. Like Patricia said, it was gone the moment I took it off. That afternoon, working in the cardiac unit, I watched a man about my age getting prepped for surgery. His wife held his hand, wedding ring catching the light. He was scared. She was scared. But they were scared together. I thought about Melissa finding out about the ring. About explaining to Emma someday why Daddy doesn't wear the ring that matches Mommy's. About all the things that circle of gold represented, promises made, promises broken, promises that couldn't be bought back from a pawn shop. 23 days left on the ticket. 23 days to find $600 I wouldn't have. Unless, Tuesday night. 1 week since I'd lost everything. The GA meeting was at 7, but my truck was parked outside Prairie Winds at 6:30. I wasn't going in. Just sitting, looking at the building, the lights, the valet runners jogging back and forth. Through the glass doors, I could see the escalator carrying people up to the gaming floor. Happy people, excited people, people who still believe tonight could be different. My phone rang. Tom from GA. Where are you, Jake? How did you? Ron called. Said you left work early. You're at the casino, aren't you? In the parking lot. Engine running. Yeah. Good. Drive away. Right now? Come to the meeting. I can't keep doing this. I said. Going to meetings, pretending I'm getting better. I need money. Real money. My daughter needs things. My wife? Ex-wife. She's going to take Emma away if I don't pay support. You think gambling will fix that? I won $5,000 last week. And where is it? Silence. Drive away, Jake. Whatever you're thinking, whatever rationalization you've built, it's a lie. You know this. I knew. But knowing and doing were different things. The itch was under my skin, in my blood, deeper than logic or knowledge. I have $17, I said. $17 to last until Friday. Come to the meeting. We'll figure something out. I started to shift into reverse. Then I saw him, Marcus, the dealer, walking across the parking lot. End of his shift probably. He saw me, recognized the truck, walked over. I rolled down the window. Jake, he said. Not a greeting. Just acknowledgement. Marcus. Heard about your ring. News traveled fast in casinos. Dealers talked. Especially about regulars who imploded spectacularly. Yeah, well, you shouldn't be here. I'm not going in. He looked at me, really looked. Saw whatever desperate thing was written on my face. I've been dealing for 6 years, he said. Seen hundreds of guys like you. Good guys. Smart guys. Guys with families and jobs and everything to lose. You know what happens to them? They lose everything. No. First they lose everything. Then they keep playing with money they don't have. Borrowed money. Stolen money. Money that comes with consequences worse than bankruptcy. I'm not there yet. Yet. He pulled out his wallet, handed me a business card. Not his, a counselor's. My brother. Addiction specialist. Takes payment plans. Sometimes works for free. I'm already going to GA. Good. Go to that too. But Jake. He leaned closer. Don't come back here. Not even to the parking lot. This place is designed to take everything you have and make you grateful for the experience. You're not special. You're not due for a win. You're just another Mark. He walked away. I sat there holding the card, engine running, $17 in my wallet. I drove to the meeting. The meeting Tuesday night was smaller. 7 people. Tom ran it, like always. Margaret was there. The kid in the Pizza Hut uniform. A new woman, maybe 40, designer clothes but haunted eyes. I'm Jennifer, she said when it was her turn. I'm a nurse. Was a nurse. Lost my license last month. Hi, Jennifer, we responded. I was stealing from the patient medication fund. Not drugs, cash. Patients give us money to buy them magazines, snacks, whatever. I was taking 20s here and there. Told myself I'd pay it back when I won. She'd been caught on camera. Arrested at work. Handcuffed in front of her colleagues. 10 years of education and career, gone for maybe 3,000 in stolen 20s. The worst part, she continued, I'm relieved. Relieved I got caught. Because I couldn't stop myself. When it was my turn, I admitted being in the casino parking lot. Didn't go in, I said quickly. But I wanted to. Still want to. What stopped you? Tom asked. Marcus, a dealer, told me I'm just another Mark. He's right, Margaret said. We all are. The casino doesn't care about our stories, our children, our marriages. We're numbers on a spreadsheet. After the meeting, Tom approached me with 2 other members. We pooled some money, he said, handing me an envelope. $120. For gas and food. Not a loan, a gift. But there's a condition. What? You signed the self-exclusion form. Tonight. We'll go with you. The Prairie Winds self-exclusion office was tucked behind customer service. A small room with harsh lighting and legal forms. The woman working didn't judge, didn't ask questions. She'd probably processed hundreds of these. Duration? She asked. Lifetime. Tom answered for me. My hand shook as I signed. It felt like admitting defeat. Like closing a door to the only place I'd felt alive in months. This is legally binding, the woman explained. If you attempt to enter any Prairie Winds property, you'll be arrested for trespassing. Any winnings will be confiscated. You won't receive promotional materials. Your Players Club account is terminated. I understand. She took my photo, added me to the database, gave me a copy of the form. That took courage, Tom said in the parking lot. But it didn't feel like courage. It felt like dying. Like cutting off a poisoned limb to save the body. Wednesday, I worked a full shift. Didn't think about gambling for whole hours at a time. Progress. Thursday, Emma called after school. Daddy, I made you something in art class. What is it? A surprise. You'll see Saturday. Are you better? From being sick in your choices. I'm trying, baby. Mom cries sometimes. At night. She thinks I don't hear. My chest tightened. I'm sorry. Just get better, okay? Then maybe you can come home. After she hung up, I stared at the pawn ticket. 18 days left. Friday's paycheck hit at midnight. I sat in my apartment, laptop open, doing math that wouldn't balance. After the truck payment and partial child support, I had $300 left. Rent was due in a week, $650. Electric was already shut off, notice read. The credit card company called twice daily. The pawn ticket stared at me from the coffee table. $600 to get the ring back. Might as well have been $6 million. I called the pawn shop inside Prairie Winds. Different woman answered, day shift probably. I have a ticket, I said. Tuesday night. Wedding ring. What happens if I can't pay the full amount? You lose it. Can I make a partial payment? Extension. No extensions. Full amount or forfeit. 17 days left. Saturday morning, picking up Emma. Melissa didn't come out. Sent Emma alone. She had a rolled up paper in her hand. The art project. Look. She unrolled it in the truck. A drawing of 3 people holding hands in front of a house. Labeled in careful 8-year-old writing. Daddy, Mommy, me. Above it, my family. It's beautiful. Baby. It's for when you come home. We went to the park again. Free. While she played, I sat on a bench and called Marcus's brother. The addiction counselor. David speaking. Marcus gave me your card. I was a regular at Prairie Winds. Jake. He told you about me? He mentioned someone might call. Lost a lot Tuesday night. Everything. Can you come in Monday? 5 o'clock. I can't pay. We'll work it out. Emma ran over, breathless. Daddy, there's a fair. Can we go? I could see it setting up in the adjacent lot. Rides, games, food trucks. Admission was probably $20. Tickets another 40. Money I didn't have. Not today, baby. Her face fell, but she recovered quickly. That's okay. The park is fun too. That destroyed me more than any loss at the casino. My 8-year-old comforting me about being broke at Sunday's GA meeting. I talked about Emma's drawing. She drew us as a family, I said. Like we still are one. Like I haven't destroyed everything. You haven't, Patricia said. You've damaged things. There's a difference. What's the difference? Destroyed is permanent. Damaged can heal. But only if you stop causing new damage. Tom announced he'd found me something. Not charity. A job. Weekend security at a storage facility. Friday and Saturday nights, 10 to 6. 100 a shift, cash. 200 extra a week. 800 a month. Enough to catch up on support. Maybe even save for the ring. Except only 15 days remained. Thank you, I said, meaning it. Don't thank me. Just show up. Monday, I met with David, the counselor. His office was nothing like I'd expected. Comfortable chairs, soft lighting, no judgment in his eyes. Tell me about Tuesday. He said that I told him everything. The winning, the losing, the ring. You had $5,000. Why didn't you leave? Because $5,000 wasn't enough. Enough for what? To fix everything. To be worth something again. Worth something to who? I thought about it. To Melissa. To Emma. To myself. And now? Without the money? Are you worthless? The question sat there between us. Impossible to answer. 2 weeks later, everything shifted. I was working both jobs. Electrician by day, security guard on weekends. Exhausted but clean. 14 days without gambling. Going to meetings twice a week. Seeing David every Monday. The pawn ticket had 3 days left, and I'd accepted the ring was gone. Then Melissa called. Jake, I found something. What? A receipt. In your old jacket. From a pawn shop. My stomach dropped. Melissa, $600 to redeem. Due tomorrow. It's too late. I don't have, I know. But I do. Silence. I've been saving, she continued. For Emma's college. It's not much, but I have $600 I can spare. I can't take Emma's college money. You're not taking it. I'm buying your ring back. You'll pay me back $25 a week. No interest. 24 weeks. Why would you do that? Because Emma drew that picture. Because you've been going to meetings. Because you banned yourself from the casino. Yes, Tom told me. Because maybe, just maybe, you're actually getting better. I am. Don't say it. Show it. The next day, Tuesday, exactly 3 weeks after I'd lost everything, Melissa met me at the pawn shop. Not the one inside Prairie Winds. I couldn't go there. The ticket was transferable. The same Vietnamese woman was working, different location. She counted Melissa's 600, disappeared into the back, returned with a small envelope. My ring. Melissa handed it to me. Put it on. We're not married anymore. The papers are on hold. Not canceled, but on hold. 6 months. You stay clean for 6 months. Go to meetings, work your jobs, pay support, be a father, a real father, and we'll talk. About what? About whether the man I married still exists somewhere inside whatever you've become. The ring felt strange on my finger. Heavier than before. But also right, like a bone reset after being broken. That night, the GA meeting, I showed them the ring. My wife bought it back, I said. Ex-wife. Maybe wife. I don't know. Doesn't matter what she is, Tom said. What matters is what you do now. Margaret smiled. 21 days clean. The physical addiction is breaking. Now comes the hard part. This was the easy part. Everyone laughed. Even Jennifer, who'd lost her nursing license. Even the Pizza Hut kid, who was retaking classes he'd failed. The easy part is stopping, Tom explained. The hard part is living without it. Finding out who you are when you're not gambling. What you actually feel when you're not numbing it with the next bet. 6 months later, I was still finding out. The security job became permanent, supervisor position. The electrician work steadied. Ron trusted me again. I'd paid Melissa back completely, plus caught up on support. Plus started a small savings account that she controlled for Emma. Emma stayed with me every other weekend in my apartment that now had furniture, food, pictures on the walls. We never went to casinos, obviously. We went to parks, libraries, the fair when it came back, this time with money for admission and rides. Melissa and I went to counseling. Together, David recommended someone who specialized in families dealing with addiction. I can't promise anything, Melissa said after our third session, but I can see you trying. Really trying. I am. I know. Emma sees it too. You're different. More present. The divorce papers expired and signed. We didn't reconcile exactly, but we didn't proceed either. We existed in limbo, me proving myself $25 at a time. One meeting at a time, one day without gambling at a time. The last time I drove past Prairie Winds, taking the long way to avoid construction, I felt nothing. No pull, no itch, no whisper saying one more bet could fix everything. It was just a building with lights, full of people learning what I'd already learned the hard way. Marcus still worked there, probably. Still dealing to guys like I'd been, watching them spiral, occasionally trying to warn them. The pit bosses still marked their players, tracked their losses, sent them promotional offers they couldn't refuse, but I wasn't their player anymore. I was banned, self-excluded, protected from myself by a piece of paper and a bad photograph in their database that I touched my wedding ring, felt its weight, its promise. Not the original promise. That was broken, pawned, sold. This was a new promise. To stay clean. To be present. To remember that some things, once pawned, can be bought back, but only if someone who loves you pays the price, and only if you prove, every single day, that you're worth the investment.